Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live. Yes. As you can see, I got my main man G here with me. And you know what we're gonna do. We're gonna drop some knowledge on y'all on the sports tip tonight. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. All right, so doing something a little different this week as well. Also going live on Instagram. So if you're watching on Instagram, definitely appreciate you. Just be advised, it's going to be a little more difficult for me to see your comments with the streaming platform that I'm using. I'm using StreamYard. But if you want to leave a comment, you definitely can do that. Just hop on over to YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments there. That way I can see them directly, and we'll do that. But so we got it going on, and we got some good topics, man, and we're gonna get right into those. But before we get started in the topics, man, what's going on, G? How you doing, bro?
Oh man, not too much, brother. Just taking it one day at a time, enjoying this beautiful weather we got here in Baltimore.
I hear that, man. It was blazing today in Florida, man. It was like about 96 degrees today, so you know how that goes. Summertime.
Yeah.
How about yourself, bro? Huh?
I said, how about yourself? How's everything?
I'm maintaining, man. Just trying to do this and trying to make it happen, and enjoying these NBA finals and all these sports stories we got going on, and getting, what are we, less than 100 days from the start of college football season, a little over 100 days from the start of the NFL. So, man, super excited. And we got the Olympics this summer too, so it's not going to be one of those long, boring summers without a lot of sports. So, got a lot going on, man. I'm super excited about it, and I'm ready to kick it with you and get these people what they want on this sports talk, man.
Yeah, quiet as kept, man. My Orioles, they're starting to do something this year.
I saw that. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not much of a baseball fan, but I definitely saw that. My boys back in Maryland, they were telling me about how the Orioles is getting busy. I see the Yankees are out here killing. So we'll see what happens. You might get a ALCS, Yanks and Orioles, right?
As long as I get anything other than bad traffic, right? Like that's the only thing they used to give us back in the day, man. Just bad traffic and losing seasons.
I hear that, man. I hear that. All right, well, let's do it, man. So as you can see by the rundown, y'all, first topic. And by the way, if you in here and you're watching the show, I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and make sure you share the show. Just hit that share button and get it out to other sports fans that might want to see it. But anyway, so first topic, as you see on the rundown, it's Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki, and kind of what's the deal with this, right? We know Dirk Nowitzki is the original great Dallas Maverick, unless you really want to go back and you want to talk about, Mark Aguirre and Rolando Blackman back in the 80s. But Dirk Nowitzki is, like, to this point, he's probably the greatest player ever to play for the Mavericks. Obviously, you could probably argue he's maybe the greatest European in history at the time of his retirement. He might still be, probably won't be that way for a whole lot longer, but he might still be the best European player to ever play in the NBA. But Dirk was an absolute problem, man. You see it. He had the mid-range. He had the long J. He could go to the block. He had that one-legged fadeaway, which was kind of his signature shot, right? He was a champion. He was an MVP in the league. So, he's got a lot on his resume, right? He might be the best shooting big man of all time. Karl Anthony Towns, he likes to think he's the best shooting big of all time. But I'm not even trying to hear that because, where are those shots when you need them from him? But this is not about him, right? So, Dirk is that guy. Whether he's the best European of all time, we're going to see as the future goes. And he probably is right now, as I said. But now you've got Luka Doncic, and that dude, well, we know he's special too, right? Let's take a look at him. Obviously, He's from a different era, but this is a guy that walked into the league, averaged 20 in his rookie year, and I think he averages about 28 for his career now. Now, again, this is a different era, and a lot of that, helps in terms of him being able to put up the type of numbers he's putting up. But um, even though he's a guard, I think he's what 6'7". He's just as good a rebounder as Dirk. He's a better passer than Dirk. He's not quite the shooter. He's a better ball handler, so he probably could do more things on the offensive end of the floor than Dirk. But he hasn't won an MVP yet. He hasn't won a championship yet. But he is in position to help the Mavericks win their second ever championship. Obviously, they're playing against the Celtics in the finals right now, so this is this is a team that can do it, right? And Dirk is obviously the main guy. So it's bringing up an interesting debate, right? And Thursday, before game one of the NBA Finals, we saw Jason Kidd. I don't know if you saw it or not, G, but I was researching the show today and I saw it. I saw the footage of it. Jason Kidd was being interviewed by Richard Jefferson, his former teammate with the Nets, and Malika Andrews. And here's what he was asked when he got asked a question by Malika Andrews. Check this out.
You've talked about Luka in the highest of company. Dirk, Luka. If Luka wins a ring this year, does he have a shot at the claim greatest Maverick ever?
Yes. Yes.
So Jason Kidd, he was pretty definitive about it. Obviously, he played with Dirk. He won a championship with Dirk. He coaches Luka now. He was very definitive about the fact that if Luka wins this, well, I guess it wasn't definitive, right? Because he was asked if Luka has a chance to be the greatest Maverick ever. He said yes. So I'm gonna stop talking now, G man. What are your thoughts on this kind of Luka versus Dirk thing? Who's the better player, at least to this point in their careers, and does Luka have a chance to be the best Maverick ever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as time go on, he'll probably supersede Dirk. He'll probably get multiple MVPs. But it's hard to say right now because you have a lot of young talent in the league. Uh, Dirk averaged like 20. I think Luka is going to probably end up at the end of his career averaging a little more than 20, just the way he is. The kid been playing for a while. I think he started as a professional overseas at like a young age. And
Both
so
of
he
them
came
did.
in,
Yeah.
came in the league fire, like on fire. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't on my radar. I can tell you that he wasn't on my radar. It wasn't until I seen him torch multiple guards that I was like,
Mhm.
"Whew, this kid is the truth." But again, playing in a different era, playing a different position, but you can't negate Dark's. What he giving us in the league? I mean, he beat LeBron, right?
Big one.
He took LeBron down with 9 fingers. So
Sure did. Sure
yeah,
did.
so I mean, yeah, you got to respect him. He came in the league and he saw there was a much more physical league. He changed his style of play, developed his mid-range, little fadeaway, one leg,
Yeah.
brought a trainer in. So he adapted to what was going on in his time. Luka isn't getting slid under the hydros every time you go to the rack.
Right.
It's a much more softer league, but that'll probably give Luka the advantage. Both highly skilled individual players.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Super skilled guys. But like I was saying, when I first brought up this topic, I think that Luka uh he has a more well-rounded offensive game in that he's a better passer, and even though he's shorter, he's just as good a rebounder. Now, I take the rebounding numbers with a grain of salt now because obviously we're playing at a higher pace in the modern game. There's more rebounds to be had, and there's less true big men, so it's a lot easier for us to see these guards racking up these gaudy rebound numbers. Does that mean that they're not good rebounders? No, but that means that the conditions, I always talk about this, the conditions guys are playing under allow for them to do certain things, and that is what it is. But nah, Luka, he's special. And again, I always hated the Larry Bird comparisons to Luka, just because he's a white guy. That's the biggest one. But when you look at the way they play, errors aside, being that they both have really good floor vision, they can pass the ball extremely well, they can initiate offense, they can both rebound. But what gets me is the similarity in that they're both slow, but they can both get to their spots almost anytime they want to. And it's really, really difficult to keep these guys from getting a shot off. And they both have, that clutch gene that Skip Bayless likes to talk about. Luka, I think his 3-point percentage on the season is like 34%. but in the playoffs, it's like 43%. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he picks it up when he needs to, and he makes big shots. So, I see something of a comparison. Now, I'm not going to be disrespectful. Larry Bird is clearly far and away better than Luka, and I'm sure a lot of younger people are going to say Luka's better than Bird, and I'm not even going to engage in that. But I see where some of the comparisons are. But let's listen to some thoughts from Rob Parker and Chris Broussard, the odd couple, and what they had to say about the Dirk versus Luka thing, and what Jason Kidd had to say, and their thoughts on it. Check it out.
Luka's just better than Dirk. I mean, they could lose this. They could get swept in this series. Luka's a better player than Dirk Nowitzki was. I don't see how anybody, can watch the two of them play and have any other opinion. I mean, now, if you want to say Dirk is Mr. Mav because he was there for 21 years and got them their first NBA championship, that's all well and good.
Their first or
but
only.
The best
Their first or
that's
only.
Fine. But the best Maverick is Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, Luka's the best player to ever play for the Mavs.
So if they
That's
never
just
win,
obvious.
if they never win, it doesn't matter. He's the best player no matter what.
I still think he's better because I think Barkley was better than Dirk, and Barkley never won a championship. I mean, it's not like I said. I tell you all the time. To me, it's not just rings. It's a nuance about this thing. And Dirk Nowitzki, Rob, and again, I don't want this to be viewed as a shot at Dirk. I'm just saying Luka is clearly better.
Well, I just want to know, is there a history with you and Dirk that I don't know about?
Not at all.
Okay.
I did a story on
just
Dirk
asking.
for ESPN.
I'm asking.
No, I'm just telling you. I did a story on Dirk for ESPN the magazine. So I like Dirk. But that doesn't mean just like everybody.
No,
I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to give. I'm just telling.
Yeah, because like the city of Toronto thinks you have something against the city. I'm just asking if there's something that
What does Toronto have to do?
Don't you remember Toronto? You said something about Toronto.
But what do they have to do with a Dirk Nowitzki?
No,
Luka
but I'm
Doncic
saying like is there some backstory that I don't know? That's all I'm asking. Go ahead. I'm asking.
Anyway, Dirk Nowitzki. And again, I don't want this to be viewed as a shot at Dirk because he is an all-time great player. No question about it. But Luka Doncic, as we've said, Rob, at least I've said, he should be in the best 10 players ever discussion when he's done. And that was never said about Dirk Nowitzki. He's just there. Luka is on a different level of elite player. Dirk was primarily a scorer. That was he wasn't a good defender, wasn't much of a rebounder for a 7-footer. His highest ever, never averaged 10 rebounds a game. He was primarily a scorer, and his career high average for a season in his 21-year career was 26 points a game. Luka's career average is 28.7. The thing that Dirk did best, Luka's already topping him in that. And Luka, for 5 of his 6 years, has averaged more than 26 points a game, which was Dirk's career high. He did it once.
Yeah, but there's a difference between the two players, too, isn't it?
Luka has already made 5 first-team All-NBAs. Dirk made 4 in 21 years. Luka's made 5 in 6 years.
All right, G. So they had a lot to say there. So before I go into my thoughts on it, man, what did you think about what they had to say, and Chris Broussard being pretty definitive and strong in his stance that he believes Luka's just better than Dirk? Where are you on that?
They play 2 different positions. But and I look at how Dirk, the era in which Dirk played in, I mean, there's not a lot of lockdown guards. There's not a lot of people that. And now the Celtics did a really good job of getting a slow 30 or a meaningless 30 out of Luka yesterday.
We'll definitely get to that.
Yeah. I don't want to step ahead. Like I agree with what the guy's saying, but at the same time, my thing is if Luka never brings a ring home, he won't be considered better than Dirk in my opinion. He'll have more skill points, more attributes, but when it comes down to it, until he bring a ring to Dallas, it won't happen. And I'm certain if he stay in Dallas, then yes, yeah, he'll probably supersede Dirk.
Okay, so you know my thing, man. We can't just blindly go with stats. Also, we can't just blindly go with rings. Like I go with kind of the totality of it when I'm evaluating a player. I look at skill set, I look at stats, I look at winning. Like all these things to me, when you put them in a blender, you get a player's ranking, right? So the first thing that kind of stuck out to me is Chris Broussard says that when it's all said and done, Luka should be a top 10 player, right? So I'm going to give you 11 guys that should all be in the top 10. So depending on who you have in there. And then my first question to you is going to be, if Luka becomes a top 10 player, who are you pushing out of the top 10? Because that's the first thing. People are quick to say, oh, this guy's a top 5, this guy's a top 10. But the question now becomes, okay, that's cool. You're putting them in. Who are you taking out, right? And so obviously, most people have LeBron in there. I don't, but so be it. So you got Michael Jordan, Magic. I'm going to put LeBron for the sake of this. Kareem, Larry Bird, Olajuwon, the great Mr. Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq, Tim Duncan, Kobe, right? I think that's pretty fair. Any one of those 11 guys could be in the top 10, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. My question is, which one of those guys are you pulling to put Luka in? Not you being you, but, well, you know what? If you had to make that decision, which one of those guys you pulling to put Luka in, providing his career continues on the path that it's on right now?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I would say top 75, right? We gotta get the top 75 before we can even talk about top 10. Top 10 is packed with 15 plus players who you can't move, right? I know the math. 10, yeah. So
What's
top
up, man?
75, we rotating 15 in the top 10 at all times. Luka's not there. Top 75, maybe. Definitely. Top 10, nah.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I
don't
can't
see
move anybody from that list.
it.
And like I
What
said,
I'm
it's
saying.
15. Kyrie should be in the talks of the top 75. I think that was something that was going around. And I'm off topic again, but
No, it's fine.
the fact that he's not in the top 75 is crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of egregious. But we know that there was some other things going on with that in terms of media and what they wanted to put out about him and how they were like how he was being presented publicly. So I mean, I think there's a lot more to it than that, and other than just how good of a basketball player he is. But that's something different we can discuss at another time. But okay, so here's a couple other arguments, right? So we got that Luka's, even if he continues his career as it is, unless he wins multiple chips, none of these guys are getting pushed out for Luka, and I'm fine with that. So the next thing is Chris Broussard starts talking about how what's Luka been in the league 6 years, and he's already 5-time first team All NBA. Outstanding, Luka. That's a great accomplishment. It really is. I'm not even being facetious. Then he says, in 21 years, Dirk was only first team NBA All NBA 4 times. That's absolutely fair. But what you mentioned, G, is that they played different positions, and Dirk played power forward, right? So let me just mention some of the other power forwards who played while Dirk Nowitzki was playing, right? You and me, we about the same age, so we remember this stuff vividly, all right? Rasheed Wallace, Chris Webber, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Amari Stoudemire. So my question is, that this is no disrespect to Dirk, where are all these first team All NBAs that Broussard wants him to have going to be coming from when you got a bunch of all timers and Hall of Famers at the position playing at the same time as you? Like what's going on with that? It's not that serious. What's good, bro? Good to see you, man. But yeah, G, where is that stuff coming from? That's my question.
I think it's just buzzwords, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to build that European legacy for the next up and coming players, so that we can sell the NBA worldwide, right? Not to say that Luka doesn't have a bag; he does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Dirk played in a position where it wasn't ball dominant. It wasn't ball dominant, and so his looks. I mean, if we probably go back and look and see how many shots he took, that'll probably, that'll give you the information you need to know to say, all right, why this person doesn't average that. He was more of a, I'll say, I gotta look at his percentages, but I'm sure his percentage is a lot higher than Luka's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's funny, And obviously, when you're dealing on radio and TV, you're not in a podcast environment. You only have a certain amount of time to get your points in. But this is where it's frustrating because it's kind of disingenuous, right? So he says, well, in 21 years, Dirk only made All NBA first team 4 times. Okay, cool. What you leave out is that he made All NBA second team 5 times, All NBA third team 3 times, right? So out of 21 years, 12 times he's All NBA. That's pretty darn good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Especially with, like you said, you got all those dogs playing your same position, man. That's tough sledding you got to deal with darn near every night, you also matching up with Chris Bosh, who in his Toronto days was a monster,
Yeah, that was towards the end of his career, if I'm not mistaken, that he went up against the Bosh.
Yeah, but remember, Bosh was in the league, 4 or 5 years already before they even met up with the Heatles in the finals, right? So it's not like Bosh was just a rookie at that time. I think Bosh was like a 24-10 guy by that time. And then obviously he went to Miami. His numbers had to change, his role changed, but you get the point. So, you playing at that position with all those guys, man, it's tough sledding trying to get a bunch of All NBA first team nods. So that was the first thing I thought about when I heard Chris Broussard say that. I was like, man, that's kind of disingenuous. Like, where are all these selections supposed to be coming from, man?
Yeah, that's definitely. I think like someone mentioned, they just hyping everything up.
Yeah, no doubt. And then the other thing I think we gotta look at too, man, is beyond just stats and championships, right? You got to look at certain things are iconic, right? So you see a lot of dudes in the league now with that one-legged fadeaway. Where did that come from? So you can say that Dirk literally changed the game. You and I, we've been watching basketball a long time. You've been playing a long time. I got to say, I don't think I've ever remembered anyone having that one-leg fadeaway before we saw it with Dirk. Now we seeing Embiid with it. We seeing, we seen a lot of dudes.
Yeah, it's like a spinning fade, one leg.
Mm-hmm.
A spinning one leg fadeaway, which is as a 7-footer is crazy to defend.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that was his signature.
That's right. And for the longest, I couldn't figure. I was like, what's the deal with the one leg thing, right? Then I realized, I'm like, oh, it creates the space. So the defender can't get, too close to him when he's shooting that shot. It gives him more space to see and more space to get that off, even though he's a 7-footer. So, all that stuff. But yeah, I think that as it continues to go, and especially the way the media goes, and then if he gets a couple of chips and a couple MVPs, Luka will end up finishing his career probably regarded as the better Maverick all time than Dirk, but it's not that definitive now. And just to say, oh, well, Luka averages more points for his career and Luka got all these, all NBA first team selections, that's kind of like, nah, let it play out some more. It's a little disingenuous, but that's me.
Yeah, I agree. You can't really tell the future of what's going to happen at the end of a player's career. We can only go off of what that player's already done.
Right. And of course, context is necessary. All right. What we're gonna do right here, that's the end of this topic. I'm gonna go ahead, open up the phone lines, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. You can call in, give us your thoughts on Luka Doncic versus Dirk Nowitzki. Who's the better all-time Dallas Maverick? I'd love to hear from you, whatever side you're on. Go ahead, give us a call. Let's do it. Yeah, it's not that serious. You're 100% right, bro. I talk about it all the time, man. Today's stats are grossly inflated. You got a faster pace. You have a looser whistle. You have guys being able to get away with a lot of things. Let me go ahead and take this call. Antoine, what's good, my brother? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself?
Maintaining, man. Maintaining. What you got?
I was just thinking about today's discussion. It's hard to have proper sports debate because the situations aren't the same. Mm-hmm. If you're a late 70s or early 80s kid, we lived in an environment where we've seen the best progression of basketball.
Correct.
The 90s to me were all this TikTok and all this other rhetoric. The 90s to me was the best aspect of basketball into the early 2000s. I haven't seen any. I mean, it was flooded with talent. It was flooded with just so many different scenarios, the rules, and everything else. I mean, everything was tangible, but it seemed like after Jordan left, it was like they had to try to fulfill it with something else. And I think like we've been living in that environment for like the past 15 years
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, as great as Kobe is, and me personally, because I was a Jordan fan, I didn't appreciate Kobe properly. I appreciate him after that.
I can see that. I get what you mean by that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just like all these other, you know, things are so inflated. The rules have changed. It's to me, it's super watered down. So contextually, when we think about the Luka, verse, I'm losing my thought here. I apologize, but
Dirk, Luka versus
you
Dirk.
know, it's not the same. You know, Dirk he played in a much tougher, era of the game, and he adjusted his game to that era.
Mm-hmm.
Luka, and don't get me wrong, Luka's a bad boy,
He is.
but he's playing in such a watered down, weakened league, and it's hard to get a proper context of who's the greatest Dallas player because of their two drastically different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for Dirk, he played in the finals twice. He lost to Dwayne Wade, and then won against Dwayne Wade with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you qualify that? This is Luka's first finals, but how is the game played today? How the rules are called? They barely call traveling, they barely call carrying, they barely all these different things. So it's hard to contextualize the game properly in comparison to earlier eras because the rules are so different. So as much as I appreciate Luka, he brings a level of excitement. I think, he's talented. I think his mentality works in almost any era, but I want to see him playing against tougher defenses, tougher situations, and see if he can still accomplish what he's doing now. So one thing we can say about Dirk is Dirk adjusts his team to a tougher situation, and if he played today, he would dog this league. So
there's a lot of guys
so
from the
that's
past you could say that about. But yeah, you're right.
Exactly, and that's my point. And so, like how y'all started the program out talking about the comparison between Larry Bird and Luke, and how everybody's always the next Larry Bird or next MJ or stuff like that. These players today aren't doing what they did. It's a false equivalency. Between the areas because it was a tougher area. It was harder to score. Defense was rougher, so they had to be way more technically sound.
Yep.
Better with fundamentals. All these different things. So when they say faster, stronger, all these other different narratives about today, you can't see it properly. They also talk about how well LeBron is. He played 20 years, but in those 20 years, how many 82 games did he play? So context doesn't matter. You have to qualify these things properly and give it the proper context. You're gonna make a proper assessment.
There you go. I couldn't have put it any better. You're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. Anything else you wanted to add?
Oh no, man. That's my take, man. I'm enjoying the show, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you.
Oh, no problem.
All right. All right. If you're on Instagram watching the show, appreciate you checking in. Make sure you hop over to YouTube, give us that like, share the show with other people that want to hear the sports talk. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. All right. Appreciate that. All right, G. So you want to move on to topic number 2, NBA Finals Game 1. You know I'm ready to talk about this.
Oh man. Yeah.
I try to keep it cool, try to be objective, be a journalist, and also not get too excited. It's only one game, right? Last time the Celtics were in the finals, they were up, 2-0 on Golden State? And then they gave away 4 straight, literally. I think Jason Tatum set the all-time finals turnover record. So they literally gave away 4 straight. But let's go ahead and talk about it, brother.
Oh, you want me to get started?
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
So, let's do it. We'll throw some highlights on, and while those are playing, I'm just going to ask you, man, what were you thinking when you were watching this game? I think you and I were texting for a little bit while this was on. Why don't you share with the people some of your thoughts on this game?
Well, so it was a heavy coat of shellacking going on. I think
Yeah,
29
yes, sir.
points. The Boston Celtics were able to execute their plan. The Dallas Mavericks didn't really they didn't really show up early on, and I think they brought the game into like 8, but it was just too
Yep.
much. The Porzingis effect. I mean, 9 blocks. I don't know if he had 9 blocks, but as a
No,
team, he
Celtics
had
had
9 blocks, which was
Yeah, he had
crazy.
3.
Yeah. They put up 42 threes, was able to shoot at 38%. I believe it was 38%. They really brought it to Dallas, as they should at home. First game, a lot of people lost a lot of money. The Kyrie with 12 points, I believe. Yeah, he finished with 12 points. Was
That's
crazy.
correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
that was crazy. So, like I said, the coach did a great job of minimizing Kyrie and letting Luka do what he do, but in a slow, where it was pretty much 30 garbage points, right? You down 30, down almost 30 the whole game, and then Mr. Brown shows up. He
Yes.
shows up. Mr.
Yes.
Brown shows up.
Yeah. What can Brown do for you, right? That's what
Yeah. Mr. Brown shows up, man. He's he's always been that versatile two-way guard, and I think he's displaying that on the court now. I think everybody can see it. The world's watching. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, man. And so I'm watching it, and I'm thinking a few things, right? So first, I'm like, okay, because my thing is, live by the 3, die by the 3. We've been saying that for years. And the Celtics, as we know, can die by that 3 because they led the league in 3-point attempts and 3-point makes this year. And to me, I'm like, I think they give up too many good shots looking for a 3, right? But, clearly Joe Mazzulla and that staff believes in the analytics. But I'm like, there's a lot of times, leading up to this point all season long, you watching the Celtics and these dudes got a wide oopen layup, they'll kick it out for a 3. And I'm like, man, stop that. Get the easy bucket. But
man, 42 threes in one game is that's the new basketball now.
That's the new basketball. It's a 3-point shootout. You're 100% right, bro.
Yeah.
And so
I was thinking turn it off. If they didn't bring it back, if they didn't come back and get the game to 8 points, it's turned off and I'm doing something else. It's already a wrap.
Well, I wanted to go to sleep at the half, but I was like, man, the Celtics, they got a tendency to go cold or, to stop doing what they're doing. They got them that lead. And lo and behold, like you said, the Mavs went on that run. They get it to within 8, but credit to Joe Mazzulla. He made the adjustment, right? Last year, as a rookie head coach, he probably would have let that go and maybe gave the game away. He saw that run. They got it to 8. Whoop, timeout.
He burned like 2 back-to-back, I think.
Right.
And that was the difference maker there. That's coaching right there. He did a great job.
But because I think coming out of that timeout, Celtics went on like a 14-2 run to open the game back up again, right?
Yep.
So you're watching Dallas do that, and I'm hearing the great Dick Vitale in my head. Got to get it to yo, baby. Got to get it to yo. You know what I'm saying? And they need to do something. And so credit to Joe Mazzulla at that point, and then you saw the Celtics go ahead and open it back up again. I personally don't like all those threes, but when it works, right? So. But here's what got me though, and this was, I thought, the shocker. I did not expect this at all. Porzingis, star of the night, right? 20 points, 8 of 13 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3 blocks. Like, he looked fresh, and I was worried coming into the game. I'm like, is he going to be rusty? Is he going to get tired? I think they did a really good job managing this. Look at that block right there. I think that they did a really good job managing Porzingis' minutes. I was very impressed by that. Loved what I saw there. So he definitely did his thing, man. I was impressed. Look where he's pulling from. He's pulling from 30. But yeah,
the unicorn. The unicorn.
That was, remember when he came out, like that was Wemby before Wemby, right? When he first got to New York. Yeah, Melo was like, "Oh my God, this kid's a unicorn, this, that, and the third." But I guess he was a little before his time, right? Kind of like Darko Milicic, I guess. But
Y'all cashed out with that one. They Jason
Yeah.
Kidd didn't do a good job preparing for him. I'll say
Well,
that.
well, maybe it didn't work with Luka. I don't know if that's Jason Kidd or maybe that's Luka, right? Maybe Luka's one of, because like you look at LeBron, as great a career as he's had, he can't play with a big, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Luka's a similar thing. Maybe he can't play with a big either. We don't know. It's it's different. And I think the Celtics offense is much more equal opportunity than the Dallas offense is. Obviously, it's very Luka heavy, and then Kyrie is that second cog. But then you have the other guys who would chip in here and there. But yeah, I was so shocked at what I saw from Porzingis, and I think it's good because like when you have the pick and roll and Gobert is he's the screener, they can play the drop coverage, right? They can play the drop coverage when you're playing against Minnesota with Gobert because he's no threat. But you can't leave Porzingis. He can hit the three, he can hit the mid-range. He's got those skills. He can put it on the floor. You don't have to worry about any of that with Gobert. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of defensive adjustments Jason Kidd makes going into game 2 tomorrow night in terms of dealing with Porzingis. But then the other thing I'm thinking, again, they did, like I said, a very good job of managing his minutes. I'm curious to see how his legs, how that calf is going to be feeling coming into game 2, right? For the first time getting real game action for an extended amount of time. So that's, definitely looking forward to seeing that. So doing the prep work for this show, I was doing the research and listening to a variety of different things. And I found some good commentary from Amin Al-Hassan. He used to work for ESPN. Now he's on the DraftKings network. He used to be a front office guy in the NBA, and he had some good comments. So let's go ahead, listen to what he had to say. Then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and we'll go from there. Check it out.
I don't think anyone expected Kristaps Porzingis to have the night he did. He looked so comfortable out there, and he shot the ball incredibly well. But believe it or not, Gojo, on oddball, I said I think the Celtics win, and they win big in Game 1 because of a bunch of factors. Number one, they're at home. Let's just start there. Great home crowd, the best record in the league. So that was you're already dealing with a tough opponent. Number two, the Mavericks haven't played well in Game 1s throughout the playoffs. I know they won Game 1 against Minnesota, but they lost Game 1 against the Clippers. They lost Game 1 in the second round as well against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they already have like a track record of getting off to slow starts. I mean, they've had other Game 1 losses in prior playoffs. Number three, if you look at the Celtics, beyond Tatum and Brown, Horford, even guys like Pritchard, Hauser, Derek White, they played in the finals before. I know it feels like a million years ago, and some of these guys feel young, but they have that experience before. Whereas the Dallas Mavericks, you got Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic is a different animal, different beast. But then all those other guys, the P.J. Washingtons, the Derrick Jones Jr.'s, like the experience quite isn't there. I know DJ played for the Heat and played in some deep playoff runs, but in terms of making shots and doing what they were expected to do last night, those guys were all kind of shell-shocked, and that's what happened. They came out, the Celtics came out aggressive, the Mavericks looked like they didn't know where they were, and then you get this big lead in the first half. I had Kristaps Porzingis under a 6.5 rebounds, so, doing it easy for myself right
there
here.
We go.
Go. Thanks, Dad. But specifically, you talk about, is there going to be a slowdown? He had 20 points. 18 of them were in the first half. So he had a great start to the game, and they did a great job of getting him in the flow. A lot of pick and pops, a lot of simple actions. As things progressed and like that hot start ended, he didn't look as great as he did originally. Now, is that cardio? Is that soreness? I don't know. I think if you're the Celtics, you're just happy that he got up and down and didn't feel hurt and didn't limp or anything like that. But the reality is, the Mavericks are going to come back in Game 2 and the rest of the series and say, okay, you got a good leg now? Let's see it. Let's make you have to defend these guys. And that was the thing I was most surprised of. The Mavericks didn't really hunt that matchup as much and as overtly as I thought they would. And I thought that allowed Porzingis to kind of get a rhythm, get out there, feel comfortable. And then once he got rolling, it was pretty hard to stop.
All right, so you heard what Amin Al-Hassan had to say about that. What were some of your thoughts on that? And before you answer there, G, real quick, if you're in the chat and you haven't already, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you're on Instagram, hop on over to YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. Appreciate all that. G, what are your thoughts on what Amin El Hassan had to say about this game in game one?
Yeah, he made some really good observations. The rest of Dallas definitely it looked like they choked. It looked like they choked, but I think they did a good job of stopping Porzingis, stopping the bleeding that Porzingis started in the second half versus the first. So that was one good takeaway from Dallas. But yeah, the rest of the players, just the matchup in itself just didn't. I don't think their game plan worked for them. Whatever they was trying, it didn't work. The teams was flat. Kyrie couldn't find a shot. It was just pretty much a Luka show. So I think the coach did a really good job, as I said, executing his plan.
How much of it do you think was, first time in the NBA Finals or big game jitters for some of these guys?
Probably more of the big. No, it was a punch in the mouth. That's what it was. They went in, they came in, and before they knew it, they was on them. Right before they can get the legs, the Celtics came in, smooth, steady, poised. They executed their game plan. They looked well coached. They knew what it looked like. They knew what they were doing. They had a game plan, and that'll do it. They didn't give them a chance to get their legs under them, or they got lost in the lights. So yeah.
That's true. And it's the crazy thing about the way the Celtics were able to operate in game one. And again, this is only game one. Adjustments will be made. Jason Kidd is way too smart a player and way too smart a coach to just let this continue. So I would be very shocked if, we saw another one like this. But what kind of got me is the Celtics were able to get open threes at will. The Celtics were able to get the mid-range at will. The Celtics were able to get to the basket at will. Like normally you see one of those things, maybe two, but it seemed like they were just clicking for most of the game on all cylinders. And that's unusual at this level of the NBA, talking about being in the finals. Like, man, yes, adjustments will be made, but that's a lot of adjustments to have to make. But talking some more about the Celtics, the question is this: where's Jason Tatum? What's that about? Yeah.
Jason Tatum is doing what Jason Tatum does. He made another quote about Kobe, man. I was like, dude, just let it stop. Like that was I think it was a clip that he had. I think it was on Twitter. He had supposedly a old Kobe jersey on, and they had like the side-by-side comparison. I don't know if that was fake news or not.
He had on the same shirt that Kobe wore for his Celtics workout before he got drafted. Not the exact same shirt, but the same shirt.
My guy got to stop that. He needs to stop it, man. Kobe don't need to be rolling over in his grave every time he makes the finals. I'm sorry, but yeah, man. Sheesh.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm looking for the breakout game, right? Because even if the Celtics win, but Tatum is not the reason, or he's not the guy, now you start asking the question, like, is he that guy, right? Because even when the Celtics won their last championship, 2008, Paul Pierce was clearly the MVP, even though Kevin Garnett was Defensive Player of the Year and Ray Allen was a great contributor, and of course Rondo running the show at point. Paul Pierce was clearly the guy. He was the guy they turned to when they needed a bucket. He was the guy who could have those big games. He was the guy who shot it out pretty much bucket for bucket against LeBron James, a young monster LeBron James in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals that year. I think LeBron had 45, Paul Pierce had 42. So he played him to a standstill, right? And so clearly he was the dude. So now it's like, okay, Tatum, this is supposed to be your team. You're supposed to be the best player on this team. Where are you? Now, I'm sure Tatum is saying, look, all I'm trying to do is win, get that monkey off my back. I don't care about anything else. But, when you're playing for a Pantheon organization like the Boston Celtics, the Celtics, the Lakers, one of these teams, and, you are moving into that level of being one of the better players all time for that organization, you have to step up on these levels right now. That said, if we go all the way back, Larry Bird won 3 championships. He won 3 straight MVPs. in his first final series, he had back-to-back 8-point games, right? Cedric Cornbread Maxwell was the MVP of the 82 finals. Now, I think Larry Bird averaged like 14 rebounds a game in that series. So even though he wasn't shooting well, and this is where the disingenuous part comes in. People always love to point to he had back-to-back 8-point games. But even though he wasn't shooting well, he was contributing, right? It's like, what was Kobe? 6 of 20, 6 of 24 in Game 7 against the Celtics in 2010. Terrible shooting night, 24, 23 points. But guess what? He pulls down 15 rebounds, right? And to me, this is what the all-time great ones do. Of course, we want to look at scoring and those gaudy numbers, but the all-time great ones always find a way to do something to contribute to help their team to win. And so I need more of that from Tatum, no matter what it may be. I need him to dominate in something so that, you know, he can contribute to that winning. And I think, go ahead, my bad.
He finished with a double-double. He had 16, 11, and 5 assists, 42 minutes, 6 for 16 from the field, 3 from 7 from 3.
I think he settles for that 3 too much, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's what, 6'11"?
He's 6'9". He's 6'9".
6'9"? 6'9". Yeah. Okay. 6'9" decoy. Yeah.
But I mean, he's a very good athlete. He got a pretty good first step. He got a handle. Like, he doesn't need to settle for the 3 all the time. He got to, but I guess it's just not his mentality to be that attacking, you know, killer type player. That's just not him. But yeah, so you mentioned earlier Jaylen Brown. What did you see from him that you liked, and where can he improve, or does he need to improve throughout the rest of this series?
Well, he picked Luka up from, I mean, Luka finished with 30, and they throw a bunch of good looks at him. But I think when you look at when they needed a bucket, that when the momentum was switching, Mr. Brown was right there. Yes, he was right there with either a dunk or 3 or something. Yeah, so his clutch gene was turned all the way up that game, and I don't think they win with him without him in that lineup. Yeah, he doesn't win.
I think he wants it bad, and he wants to show that he's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's my bad.
No, but
no, I was about to say let's flip over to the Mavericks. I know I've been giving the Celtics a lot of love. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows I'm a Celtics fan for, you know, freaking 30 plus years now. So but we could talk about the Mavericks a little bit. On the other side, like you've been mentioning, Luka got his. He had 30, but they were, you know, what did Shannon like to say? Empty calories.
Yeah.
You know, so but you know, he definitely needed the help. And so here's the crazy part, right? Kyrie Irving, 6 for 19 for 12 points. I think you mentioned that earlier. That's wild.
Yeah.
So you know, Kyrie, this is a wild stat I saw. Oh, first wild stat. Celtics had 9 blocks as a team. The Dallas Mavericks had 9 assists in game 1. I've never seen a stat like that before. I was like, whoa, that's okay. That's bugged out. That you have one team have as many blocks as another team has assists. That's crazy.
Yeah, right. I think that was definitely a difference making too. They was able to spread the ball around and knock down shots. I mean, anytime you can do that and you get your bench involved, it's gonna be hard. They're gonna be hard to beat, man. Like if Dallas doesn't get their stuff together, man, they gonna be going home now. Luka showed up, like you said, he shows up. I think Kyrie gets it going. I really do, but I can't. Yeah, I can't look at their squad and say who's going to be that third player to step up. I can't say that. Where I really don't know who's going to step up because matchups may not allow it. Right.
So what I got to say about that is, and I actually have this in my notes. I believe Tim Hardaway Jr. needs more minutes, bro, because that is a guy. I think that's the other streaky offensive player on that team who can get hot and provide you some scoring when you need it. And I'm not sure if he doesn't defend or what, but Jason Kidd has had him for most of the playoffs. He hasn't gotten a lot of minutes. I'm not sure if there's been some injury. I should have looked into that, but I'm not sure if there's been some injury or if he just doesn't want to defend or what it is. But he hasn't gotten many minutes. But Jason Kidd, if Kyrie has another bad game, he needs to look down that bench and figure out who can I get in here to give Luka some help.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because 8 minutes ain't gonna cut it. I mean, no,
it's not.
Yeah.
So check this out. You know, Kyrie is 0-11 in his last 11 games versus the Celtics.
Yeah, I can see that.
Something's going on there. Like, what is that about?
I saw that pop up, that stat pop up, but I never
Mhm.
really paid any attention. I was like, it's game one,
Right.
it's game one. Like the game three is going to be the deciding factor. If they win if they win one at home, if they win one in Dallas, then yeah, it's going to be time to panic if you're a Maverick fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
Celtics win
absolutely.
one in Dallas, it's time to panic.
Mhm.
But let's see if they close it out. I mean, next game it may be totally different. They look like they wasn't prepared. They didn't look prepared. It looked like Jason Kidd didn't prepare them, or they wasn't expecting Porzingis to go off. Because if you look at
I
like the
think that's
box
what it
score,
is.
yeah, you look at the box scores. I mean, they didn't really have like anybody on their team to pump 30, or even have the only player that had a double double in the box scores was Tatum. Everybody else was
Right.
close, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it was real good balanced scoring from the Celtics. So let me ask you this, right? As someone who's played a lot of ball, you ever had a situation where maybe you have a tough stretch against a particular opponent? Does that create a mental barrier? Like, how hard is something like that to get over?
it's game one. I can't really say that there's any mental barriers. These I can't really you everything is like mental, right? Like so it's not what the other team is doing to you. It's pretty much it's all on you. Like, oh yeah, I'm not hitting my shots. All right, I need to go in the lab and shoot my way out of this slump that I'm in.
Mhm.
If you're not getting to your positions on the basketball court, that's all on you. That's not
Mhm.
it's a team sport, but it's also individual. Like these guys in Dallas didn't have any help from their bench and or like their game plan when they came out. They looked flat. They wasn't hitting down the shots. They did go on a run and bring the game within 8 points. When they looked to the bigs to like carry them, they wasn't there. It just wasn't home. So
Mhm.
you got missing layups, missing open shots. That'll never get it done. But I guess to answer your question is when it comes to you playing, I think it all depends on how you look and how you prepare for the game. These guys didn't look like they was prepared. It looked like they was actually partying before the game, and maybe partying a little bit too much, right?
Oh,
And so I think that's pretty much they just wasn't focused. They just didn't look focused. They look outmatched, honestly. But it's game one, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
NBA Finals, is game one.
Mhm. Well, when I was talking about the mental barrier, I think I was more specifically referring to Kyrie and his 0 for the last 11 against the Celtics. Like, and that's against the organization, period, because it's not just 11 straight in Boston. But I'm wondering, like, did that kind of get in his head a little bit, because he is an incredible player, and like going into this finals, we've been hearing everybody giving Kyrie his flowers and saying, well, this is the best offensive backcourt of all time and they can do this and do that. And then you got LeBron saying, well, this is the most skilled player or the most gifted player in the history of the NBA, which I thought that was a little slick shot at Michael Jordan, but we ain't even gonna go there. But so you're hearing all of this, and then obviously, like we said, Kyrie is on a skid against the Celtics. So does all of that kind of get in your head and mess with you?
Uncle Drew? Nah, I doubt it. I got Uncle Drew showing up next game. He just couldn't knock down the three. I mean, his mid range was there. He did. But he got he got bigs in the lane. Like they clogged the lane with 9 blocks, and those 9 blocks probably put up a mental barrier in itself for the entire team, right?
Yeah.
They throwing a block party down there, and so I don't think they want any parts of it. And then it all depends on how the ref call it as well.
Of course. Of
Yeah, it
course.
all
And I'll
depends
tell you
on how
what,
the ref call it.
if there's another blowout and the
Yeah.
Mavs go down 0-2, you're gonna see a change in the whistle when they get to Dallas. Shout out Man Down Sports. You would definitely see a change in the way this game gets officiated.
Yeah.
Luka's probably gonna go to the free throw line
30
about
times.
25. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're gonna see some things, because obviously, no league wants a sweep in the NBA.
I wonder when was the last team they got swept. I know it's crazy we talking about this right now, but I wonder what team got swept in the finals. Last team that got swept.
Cleveland.
Oof.
Cleveland against Golden State when KD was there. I think that was it.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta find that.
Yeah, that Golden State team was. Yeah, ask ChatGPT. They'll tell you.
Yeah, you know.
All right, team. So what I'm going to do right now, yo, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 904-219-8264, 904-219-8264. Give us your thoughts on game one of this. Brooklyn Raise Me. I see you in the chat. Instagram, Drew. Give us a shout. Let's hear what you got. Let's hear your thoughts on it. I know you are 1,000% anti-Celtic, so I definitely would love to hear your thoughts on this. Kai, I see you in there too. But yeah, go ahead, give us a call. Let's hear what you got to say, especially the Mavericks fans, in terms of what adjustments you think needs to be made, what adjustments you think can be made, who's going to be able to step up and give Luka some help, because we know Kyrie is eventually going to bust out of the slump. So yeah, phone lines open, 904-219-8264. Give us a call. Let's hear what you got. Nothing. Okay, well, let's move on to the next topic. This one I had to get in here with this because I thought this was really interesting. When I heard about this, it really grabbed my attention, and there's some reasons for that. So we're gonna get right into it. What do we got in the chat? Hold on a second. Nino, what you got? Boston was playing team defense and not one-on-one defense. Big dip. Yeah. There were active hands and feet everywhere, and it was interesting because you see one player get the deflection and he's not coming up with the ball. Somebody else is getting it, and they really worked well as a unit. And the crazy part is, if I remember, they didn't do a whole lot of trapping on Luka, which I thought I would see a lot more of. They blitzed him a little bit, but I didn't see as much as I thought I was going to see. So yeah, they definitely played outstanding team defense. Thank you for that, Nino. All right, so let's go ahead to the next topic. Dan Hurley and the Lakers. And for y'all in the Instagram chat, and if you're in the chat here on YouTube, make sure you give us that like. We only got a couple of likes, and really appreciate y'all doing that for me. Okay, let's go ahead and take this call. Antoine, what's good, man?
How's it going, man? I was thinking about this series.
Yeah, what you got?
My first take from game one is that Tatum was pressing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what it is or what you think, how you feel about the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Tatum was pressing the entire game. He played pretty good on defense, though, so I'll give him that. But what the Celtics need to accept and what Tatum needs to accept, that's Brown's team. It is what it is. And he showed that on the biggest stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though Brown didn't play that good of a game, he did dominate. Drew Holiday is a significant pickup for the Celtics, not only with his championship experience, but his defense made a difference in this game.
Yes, indeed.
So, in my opinion, at least how I see the game, both teams didn't play their best game. But it shows you the difference of how good the Celtics team is. And though the Mavericks have two great players, as a team, the Celtics are more stacked. So it's more of the mental fortitude to kill this team while they're down.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you draw this out, like I said, the way the rules are, the way the game is played today, Doncic is a bad boy. And Kyrie is not going to play the way he did the first game. He's going to open up, and he's been in the finals before. He's a dog. And so if you give him enough time, he's going to adjust and adapt to what the defense is giving him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best, to me, it's best for the Celtics to eliminate quick. Don't draw this out. Because though the Celtics have championship experience, Dallas do as well. With Kyrie, whereas their coach Jason Kidd. So it's not too many scenarios that you can give them that's going to stomp them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Dallas got punched in the mouth. In this first game.
Yeah, they
will
did.
they respond? But if Tatum don't let the game come to him in an organic way, and he keeps pressing, eventually Dallas is going to catch up to that, and that will be their downfall if they don't adjust in that way. What do you two gentlemen think about that?
G, your thoughts?
I agree with him. I think Drew Holiday was definitely the X factor for that game. Him not putting a hand in Kyrie's face the way he did. If Kyrie's able to go off and they both can drop 30, I think it's going to be trouble for the Celtics because you never know what Tatum's going to show up.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so I think just that Celtics on paper does look like a more talented team. They definitely have more superstars. Al Horford, we can't forget about him and his, what he had to add to the game. I mean, he got a block off of Luka, so it was that's the guy that we really need to be worried about because his clutch gene is off the Richter scale. He'll knock down 3 threes in a row before you even know what's happening to you. He got kind of a slow release, but it's definitely accurate. So
Al Horford. Quick note: you mentioned Al Horford. He's got the second most playoff games played in history without a championship. Stockton, then him.
Wow. Yeah,
he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Antonio. I think we both agree with you a lot, and I'm just sitting back and I'm not too excited. It was cool see that first game, but I don't think it's going to continue like that. The Celtics are due for a cold shooting night. That happens. You got to see, is Porzingis going to be able to continue playing the way he did? And again, Jason Kidd is going to make his adjustments. The guy's an outstanding coach, just like he was an outstanding point guard. He can think the game. So the adjustments are coming. So then it's going to be Mazzulla to adjust to the adjustments. So that's where I am with that.
I'll add this and then I get off. I think with the Celtics, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals too many times. I don't care about them being young.
Facts.
Experience is experience. It is what it is. So they know top to bottom they have a better team. Also how good Doncic is and how good Kyrie is.
Mm-hmm.
Team is team. Celtics is the best team in this series. So if they want to make a bigger draw, make a bigger stance, they need to eliminate them quick. Why they had the advantage? Because I don't know how long Porzingis is going to last in the series.
That's a great
point. Even though he played well, if you're looking at objectively, he looked awkward. He looked like he was very slow. In the Dallas speed they game up, it only affects him if they're coming from it from that perspective. So take advantage of it while you have the advantage. Because the longer you let this series drag out, that benefits Dallas.
I thought I saw some of that as well in terms of Porzingis looking slow on a couple of times, not necessarily being able to get back on defense or even on fast break opportunities for the Celtics, or it could just be that, maybe that's their offense in the fast break so that he's in the secondary break and he's going to, pull up and shoot that three. But we'll see how he comes out and how he looks in that game too, man. Appreciate you calling, Antonio. Antoine,
no problem.
Appreciate you calling, man, and stick with us. We got a couple more good topics before the end of this thing tonight.
If it goes 7, I got Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's I know what G thinking. I know what he's thinking already. But yeah, that's scary.
All right, I got you.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Nino, go ahead and give me a call back, man. I saw you had a caller on the line. Go ahead, give me a call back. I'd love to hear what you got to say about that. We're gonna take this call from Nino G, and then we'll move on to the Dan Hurley and the Lakers topic.
Oh, gee.
Okay, well, we might have lost him. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to this Dan Hurley and the Lakers. This is a topic that I was really waiting to get to, so let's do it. All right, so obviously we know that at the end of the season, after getting gentlemen swept out in the first round by the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers fired their coach Darvin Ham, which I just thought was a bad move. And we've talked about that. You know my thoughts on it. If you're new to the channel, you can go back and here's Nino. All right, hold on. Nino, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. What are your thoughts on the finals?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards your lane that Dallas need to have a wild card in tuck because I think Boston is a bad matchup.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because Dallas got, I don't know, they centers, like they not real score like shooters per se. They got Washington and stuff, but they got a weakness on the floor. And Boston got 2 or 3 defenders to throw at Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah.
And you know Holiday is a bad boy.
Yeah. And other scary. Yeah, got my bad.
What you say?
No, I was saying they got multiple defenders that can defend Luka and Kyrie, and on top of that, you've got the multiple defenders, but then you also have guys who are able to. You got guys who 5 guys on the floor at any given time who can knock down a 3. Like that's a tough thing to go against.
That you just took my next point. My point that you just said it. You just said it. It's hard to. Now I heard you say this earlier. You could die by the 3 also, but when the team is hot, it's hard to beat a team that's hot from the 3. If you look at the last champions, starting with Dallas when they beat Miami. No, you can go from the Celtics when Eddie House and James Posey.
Mm-hmm.
When they got crazy hot, the Spurs, the Heat, Dallas. When the team get crazy hot from the 3, it's like impossible to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And they spread the floor, but Boston able to use defenders that don't have to score. Like Minnesota tried to use Ant-Man, but he one of your best scorers. Now I've seen a few people where you run back in the Heat days, Kobe, and Mike,
of course,
up 94. Them were different animals. You don't particularly want your best player that got to score to how fast tempo it is to be holding other team's best score. So
right.
I think it's crazy. I don't know, man. What adjustment do you think that Dallas can make?
So on the offensive side, like I said earlier, I think I want to see Tim Hardaway Jr. get some more minutes because I think he can give you more. He can get hot, but I don't know. I think he's probably not playing a lot because he doesn't defend, and Jason Kidd believes in defense. So there's that. And I think the other adjustment, I don't know exactly how they make it. They got to find some way to deal with Porzingis. I don't know how they do it. I mean, right? That's easier said than done. I don't know how from an X's and O's standpoint. Maybe I have to try to get a coach on next week and see if we can have him break down some of this stuff for us. But you got to try to do something to slow down Porzingis. Now, he could have just come out hot in game 1. We don't know if he's going to continue to play this well, but if he plays this well in game 2, man, you're in trouble. So that's my thought. But then the other problem is, even if they find a way to slow him down, eventually Jason Tatum going to go off. Like, you can't count on him.
He's going to get it going.
Yes, you can't count on him having a bad game every game, despite what Genius thinks. Well, I mean, so far in the finals, I guess we can't argue that, right? He's been to the finals once, and he did not make it look good.
Yeah, but the team is not one score. I don't believe he has to. I know he want to beat Kobe, and Kobe was that was Kobe's thing. The team knew that was Kobe. Kobe would shoot you in it, or he shoot you out of it. I don't believe Jason Tatum would necessarily have to do that in this final.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe he should come out and force to have a good game. He should let it come to him. If they can win without him scoring 30, he just need to let it. I know we're going to talk about him.
That's right.
But he needs to just let it happen.
Yeah, there's the pressure of being the best team the best player on that team for that franchise. And that's what we talked about earlier. I get what you're saying. You should just put all that to the side, concentrate on getting the win and let it happen. But there's some pressure, man, especially not just being the best player on the Boston Celtics, but being the best player on the Boston Celtics, who's also a small forward, right? I mean, think about
Right.
it. When you look at it, going back, you had at the small forward, I think Tommy Heinsohn, Hall of Fame. Of course, Larry Bird, Hall of Fame. Pistol Pete, who wasn't in his prime, but he played there. He's Hall of Fame small forward. Len Bias, he died early, so we never found out. Reggie Lewis, he was on his way, Hall of Fame. Paul Pierce, Hall of Fame, and now Jason Tatum, man, playing the small forward. Oh, and I forgot freaking Hondo Havlicek, Hall of Fame, right? So you play the small forward in Boston, man. That's tough shoes to fill. So you're supposed to be the guy. You're clearly, in most cases, the best player on the team, and now you're in the finals. With that history, it's a lot of pressure. So I kind of get why he may be having a hard time just letting it come to him, why he might be forcing it a bit.
Do you think that what that kid was trying to do, play mind games when he called Brown the best player?
I don't think so.
You think?
I don't think so. I think he probably just believes it.
I think he was trying to play mind game. Like, I want him to come out and try to. Because I thought he was trying to cause a little division within that team. Like,
I mean, maybe so. Maybe so. I think he just said what he thought. But you might be right. What you got, G?
So the answer to the question of how do you make the adjustments if you're Dallas, I gave a little bit of time to think about this, but one of the things I would probably do is I would probably try to shut down their best player, which is Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown deserves all his flowers. He is the face of the Celtics.
Anti-Tatum strikes.
He is the face of the Celtics, and he should be respected as such. I think if he doesn't hit those clutch shots, it's a different game. I think any team will take Tatum's slow 30, his meaningless empty calorie 30 in a game over the closest thing to the Kobe on the floor, which is Mr. Brown. So
you know what Tatum says, G? You know what Tatum says?
You play to win the game.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But no, honestly though,
my bad.
No. Just one more point, and then with Porzingis, right? You get tough with him. I think you touch that calf, you put a body on him that can push him around in the hole. That's not a dirty play, but you just get more physical with him. It's 7 games. It's definitely a 7-game series, and it should be tested. That quick 20 he got though was definitely a different maker. Difference maker.
Oh yeah. What you had, Nino?
I was like, now we talk about what how we talk. Our kids talk about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But do Dallas have defenders for this task that we telling them to do? Do they have that?
I don't know if they do. To be honest, I don't know if they do. And the problem is, like we said earlier, like you said, when you got so many shooters on the floor and the way they can spread you out, the way they can spread the floor is tough, man. Because all these guys can shoot the three. So I don't know how you deal with that.
I think I would add Tim Hardaway, like you mentioned. I add Tim Hardaway. I put Tim Hardaway on Brown. That's the closest thing you can do.
I think he'd get abused.
He will get abused, but he would. You still have to account for him. He's a slasher, quick to the basket, and that would probably take some of the air out of it. But and it will take some of the pressure off of Kyrie.
I think that's the big one.
Yeah,
Kyrie has to get going.
Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Because people forget on offense now. We know Drew Holiday on defense, but Drew can go for 25 now. If you slot and ain't paying attention, Drew will hit you 25 points. We seen him in Milwaukee.
That's right.
So he know how to get it. It's tough. It's gonna be tough on Dallas.
Yes, it is. You had anything else, Nino, before I let you go?
No, that's all I got, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you for calling. Appreciate you. Stay with us. We got a couple more topics.
Oh, yeah.
All right, bro. All right, let's go ahead and get to this Lakers Danny Hurley. So you've been hearing about this story, right, G?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So give a little background real quick. Obviously, at the end of the season, and me and G, we talked about this. I've talked about this, done shows about it, about Darvin Ham getting fired at the end of the season. wrongly, if you ask me, but what's done is done. And then we started hearing the rumors about JJ Redick, him being the main candidate for the job. We discussed that as well. A lot going on there. You can actually check the channel for other shows and segments where we talked about it. But quick synopsis on that whole thing is, one of my main thoughts on it was that one of the biggest reasons for the Mind the Game podcast, it was one, to spread the LeBron propaganda, right? Which it did a beautiful job of doing. And then second, it was basically an audition to show JJ Redick's basketball acumen, right? His basketball IQ, like kind of an interview without actually sitting down with a team doing an interview, right? And I think it did very well for that, because everybody knows JJ Redick's a smart basketball guy, X's and O's and all that, right? But we talked about it and we said, well, it probably wouldn't be a good look. A lot of people, myself included, see that as basically a LeBron puppet. We feel like that would cause friction in the locker room, because imagine, he trying to bring discipline or really, get on somebody, and the other players are going to be wondering, well, is this LeBron talking or is this JJ Redick talking? Would they respect him? Secondly, right, if let's say I'm a player in the league and JJ Redick come coach me, and I've been in the league a few years, I might be thinking like, this dude is my coach and I was better than him. You know what I'm saying? This dude is some glorified six man. When I played against him, I was handing him buckets. Like, that's real difficult. You know what I'm saying? So I think for all those reasons, it would be a difficult situation, and I don't think that it would be best for him to get that job, especially not a job for a franchise as big and as marquee as the Lakers, when it's your first job as a head coach and you haven't even been an assistant coach in the NBA before. But it is what it is. So we've been hearing reports that the Lakers and JJ Redick were choosing the staff, and they were basically that far along, right? So before we move on and we start talking about the Danny Hurley, G, why don't you let the people know some of your thoughts on the possibility of JJ Redick getting that job, and what you think about it with, in terms of him being the head coach of the Lakers, especially with LeBron.
So I don't really have any stock in the Lakers, right? Like,
right.
I don't foresee them winning in the next 2-3 years.
Nope.
And so the fact that they bring in another player coach to coach the team, regardless of what it stands for, what plays he can put in, I don't think he'll be capable of providing a system that the Lakers can kind of grow off of. And I think that's what we saw with Dalvin Ham, even though they did fire him. But I don't believe that he would be able to provide a system for the team or that franchise. And they would have got this. They will probably get the same thing if they institute JJ Redick. That's pretty much my views on it. If they would have picked him up, okay, it's the Lakers.
Right.
It's the Lakers. So they'll find a way to win some games just to keep seats. Sell those high end seats, but in the long run, I mean, that's not like they're getting a Phil Jackson or or Mike Brown or any other coach. Mike Brown is a stretch, but
listen, Mike Brown is a really good coach. Let's not.
He is a real good coach.
He's 2-time coach of the year. See, the LeBron fans and the LeBron media want you to believe that Mike Brown is not a good coach, but that dude's legit. He won 60 plus games twice with LeBron in Cleveland before LeBron left the first time, right? Only reason that he got fired was because they were trying to keep LeBron there, and they believed that LeBron didn't like him. So there's that. And then remember, was it last year, not this past season, but not this season that's ending right now, but last year, Mike Brown was coach of the year with the Sacramento Kings. So the guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has a system. But you won't see Mike Brown and LeBron on the sidelines again.
No, you will not.
That won't happen.
No,
So yeah, again, going back to just a system and providing a system, or plays. You saw how when Dalvin Ham was on the sideline, there wasn't a lot of players like kind of paying attention to him, and and it's one thing to be a coach, but if you can't pick your players, and you don't have that GM power, it's going to be hard for you to coach any team in this league because you're coaching adults, right? There's adults there. But I don't think JJ would have. Yeah, he's. I can't really say because I never seen him coach anybody. Right? Is he knowledgeable of the sport? Absolutely. Could he do the job? I mean, just as good as anybody else, probably.
I believe he could. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I believe the
at the end of the
situation
day,
is not right.
yeah, you got to go with somebody who you can look down the road 5 years, 10 years, and look at their track record, right? Because everybody go off of historical stats. Like you can look at Dan and say, okay, well, that's another topic, I guess. But you can look at Dan's stats and say, okay, I know in the first 2 years he may not do well, but it kind of picks up after that third year, and a lot of that is just maturing and molding your players.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna get to that. So
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Appreciate you. So G, as you heard, he mentioned Danny Hurley, who is the head coach of the defending national champion UConn Huskies, back-to-back national champion UConn Huskies. And apparently out of nowhere, I guess almost out of nowhere, we hear that name. That's the major candidate, and that the Lakers won him, and that he's out in LA right now, sitting down talking with them, and that they're supposed to be preparing a huge offer to him. And so I think that's going to be so interesting. When I heard this, I was like, whoa, like where did that come from? I think I heard this yesterday morning. Did you hear about this anytime before that, G?
No.
Okay.
I only heard about it when they mentioned the salary and it being guaranteed, fully guaranteed, possibly being fully guaranteed. That was the only time I heard of it.
Yeah. So I'm hearing this and I'm like, damn. And so I guess my first thought was like, where did this come from? And then my second thought was, what happened to JJ Redick, right? They were talking about, they were supposed to be picking out his staff, his assistants and all that, but all of a sudden it's Danny Hurley. And so I think this will be really an interesting hire for a few reasons, right? Number one, he actually runs system, like real plays and real system, and we know LeBron don't like that. Even though when Danny Hurley was on JJ Redick's podcast and he was discussing like some of his plays and whatnot, and I think LeBron popped up with a tweet saying how much he loves it and how creative it is and how awesome that is, and I'm like, sounds good, bro, but we know that playing in the system, that ain't for you. You know what I mean? And so my first thought was, how is that going to work with LeBron? And even though LeBron only has a couple years left, that's plenty of time for him to get a coach fired if he wants to. But no, real talk, right? I mean, we've seen it time and time again. But no, what the Lakers are saying and what's being reported is that if they sign this dude, it's going to be a long-term deal because they're looking past LeBron. Because, yeah, they understand that they got LeBron, but they also understand that they can't keep going like this, firing coaches every couple of years. And so when you fire coaches before they time is up, you got to pay them out the rest of that money, providing they don't get a job somewhere else. So you're normally paying two coaches at once. You're paying the coach you fired and you're paying the coach you hired. So there's that costs money. And then secondly, it doesn't allow stability in order to build a program and build a culture. But we know, like, LeBron don't care nothing about that. And he never has, right? So, there's that. That's another problem. So, I think this is really interesting. And then the other part, so let's say Danny Hurley gets a job, right, G? And let's say in a few years he wins a championship. He'll be the first coach ever to win a championship in high school, college, and the NBA.
Yeah.
So here's my trivia question for you: Who's the only coach right now to win a championship in college and the NBA?
Jeez.
Know this, man.
I got a couple names, man.
All right, what you got?
Yeah, nah, you got me, bro.
Larry Brown.
Trivia. Larry Brown. God damn it.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of his name. I was thinking Philly. I couldn't think of his name.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you're one of the best to do it, X's and O's wise, man. But yeah, so it's funny. So Danny Hurley, you saw in the B-roll when I was playing. I'll play it again. Now look at Danny Hurley on the sideline, and you see how animated he is, right? So he's a grinder. He's a yeller. He's that type of guy. Obviously, being a high school coach and a college coach. And I heard Gino Auriemma. He was on an interview with Dan Patrick the other day talking about it. Yup, Nino. It is Larry Brown. There you go. You got it. And one of the things that they were talking about is how Gino Auriemma, he says that what's his name? Danny Hurley coaches UConn men just like he coached his high school team. And I'm wondering, like, yeah, he knows his X's and O's. He's great with the play design and all that. Clearly, he can motivate guys. He knows how to win. He's a back-to-back national champ. But the question is, how can he deal with the grown men of the NBA? You can't be screaming and yelling on these dudes, and these dudes don't want to be coached hard. You know what I'm saying? So what do you do now? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What do you do? If you're Danny Hurley and they offer you this money, you got to take it. You got to take it. But like, how successful can he be? And if you're the Lakers, are you going to gamble it on a high school coach, high school turned college coach, winner or not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So first thing you do is you clear your bench, right? You bring in all new players. You bring in your players, right? That's how he's able to do it, because these are the players that he recruited to UConn. You know, if you look at his stats at Wagner and
Rhode Island.
the other school, Rhode Island, yep, you can tell like that first year he maybe had some players in, and then the second year they kind of got that, you know, got the system down. That third year it's normally a 20 plus win season for them. And so I think when you start talking about bringing somebody in for a long period of time, you are looking past LeBron, but you also making sure that he gets to handpick his players. And that's what a lot of coaches will do when they come in on a collegiate level. They'll pick their own players. Now, what does that do for, you know, people like AD who still have time on their contract? Yeah. So I don't really know where they go from that standpoint. I guess meeting with the coach and see, like, we'll trade you, you know, that type of situation. But they're not winning, bro.
I think the Lakers fully want to keep AD. And remember, AD is a clutch client too. And, you know, LA is, I guess, a good place to be other than the taxes, right? But one of the things I heard in, you know, reading and listening to stuff was that they're less concerned, they being the Lakers, about LeBron's relationship with the coach because they know he's on the way out, than they are about AD because they intend on having him long term. So they want to make that the fit. So they're making sure that works out. But let's hear Danny Hurley was actually on the Adrian Wojnarowski, known as Woj. He's an NBA insider for ESPN. He was on the Stephen A. Smith show yesterday, and he had some good stuff to say. This clip's kind of long, almost 4 minutes long. So just check this out. Let's listen to what he had to say. Then we'll come back and we'll give our thoughts on that.
How big of a possibility do you think it's going to be that Danny Hurley is going to be the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Stephen, there's a real possibility, and there's traction in these conversations between Hurley and the Lakers. The job is his if he wants it, and I think that's been clear to him for some period of time here. And it's really just been the last few days where now he's going to formally meet with the Lakers. He told UConn that he was going to do that. He told his players that, and he flew to California on a Thursday night, and today's Friday, and so he's going to meet with, as you mentioned, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and sit down with them and see what this could look like. This is not done. He's not made a decision. It's certainly at the time that we're talking, but he is seriously weighing this, and the NBA has always been an ambition of his, and the kind of job the Lakers is and what it represents and what it means in the coaching fraternity, you could make a case it might be the most pressurized, most famous, most storied seat maybe in all of coaching, and maybe not just basketball. So I think all of that appeals to Dan Hurley, and he's looking hard at this.
To get back and to give folks on the outside some insight to all of this, we've heard numerous people reporting that there were numerous candidates, most notably our colleague at ESPN, JJ Redick. The inside info is that I want to let America know that when I was thinking about that, the one and only Adrian Wojnarowski would come over to me and say, wait a minute, it's not quite going down that way, Stephen A. Let me hook you up with the intel, and that's exactly what you did. Paint a picture for what the situation has been leading up to Hurley being in this position. Was it always him? Was it numerous people like a J.J. Redick? Was it really nobody at all? Was it really all about Dan Hurley? Break that picture down for my audience, please.
Stephen A., the other candidates who they've talked to are viable, legitimate coaching candidates, not just with the Lakers, but will be with other teams. But Rob Pelinka identified early that Dan Hurley was the coach that he wanted to hire, but he didn't know if he'd be able to get him. He couldn't just spend 2-3 weeks pursuing Dan Hurley and hoping to get a chance to get down the road the way they have here at the end. And so he has interviewed other candidates. And if Dan Hurley says no to this job, then it's going to circle back to the J.J. Redicks, the James Borregos, among some others. Sam Cassell, who's an assistant with the Celtics, is interviewed. James Borrego, there's been different variations of interviews in this. They did an initial wave of candidates while they're waiting to see if they could make any headway with Hurley, where they brought in guys and they got to know guys that they hadn't interviewed in the past. Remember, they just did a coaching search a couple years ago.
Right.
So they had met with some of these guys. They did sort of an informal, like more of a get to know you with a bunch of guys, including J.J. Redick, including James Borrego, because there just wasn't familiarity. They brought Borrego back for a more of a sit-down, formal, all-day, let's really dig into an interview. They hadn't done that yet with JJ, and I think they would have if the Hurley thing didn't start to accelerate here. And again, if Dan Hurley turns down the Lakers or they just can't come to an agreement, again, this could come back. JJ Redick is a coach or a coaching candidate that the Lakers had a lot of interest in.
All right, so a lot of good information from Woj Narowski. Woj, talking about this. What'd you get from that, G? Anything that stood out to you? I know one thing that stood out to me.
No, not really. This is kind of a no-brainer. I didn't know that they were doing like a coaching search last year. I think that's one of the things they said. It's like kind of like a get to know me where they were sitting down with all the coaches. Yeah, I didn't know they was doing that. I thought it was just interview.
I think it was
right?
2 years ago when they hired Darvin Ham. I think that's what he was referring to.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, what actually stood out to me on that was a name that you said when we first started discussing this Laker coaching search, and that was Sam Cassell. And not that I didn't think he was worthy of it or not due for his opportunity, because he's one of the most well-respected assistants around the league. Obviously, he's a championship point guard, and he's a guy who has that experience in the league. I think he's probably, third team All-NBA type point guard when he was playing a few times. So, he knows what it is from the player perspective. Now he knows what it is from the coaching perspective. He's kind of put in his time and done his dues on that. And I think that could be, I don't know about if you want the Lakers job as your first job. And again, coaching LeBron James, I don't think you want that as your first job. But Sam Cassell, I did find that interesting that was one of the names that they were looking at. And I'm kind of curious to know what their thoughts were on him or how deep into the process they went with him, if at all.
Yeah, me too. I think it's just due. His time will come. Yep, his time
definitely,
will come. So, definitely very knowledgeable of the sport, and he's a champion. So, yeah, man. One of the things I was looking at with Dan Hurley also is let's say you win a chip twice with UConn, right? And so, do you use this as a ploy to get more money from the school?
So that was another thing I was going to bring up. That's a great point. I thought about it, and UConn is preparing that counter offer right now.
Yeah, they are. So
yeah,
100 plus mil.
I want to keep him.
Yeah. So,
but also now, if you're a college coach, do you want to deal with NIL and paying the players and transfer portal and all that? Like, you've won twice. You've shown you can win. You did a great job. But do you want to deal with the changing landscape of college athletics and football and basketball, where you can just say, you know what, I'll go on, I'll take my shot at the NBA, which apparently that's been his dream to do. You take your shot at the NBA, and then you say, all right, cool. Now I don't have to deal with that. I'll leave that part to the business people, and I'll just worry about coaching. But again, coaching in the NBA, very, very different than coaching collegiately or high school.
Yeah. And you have that winning record already, so the players going to come to you. You don't really have to do a lot of recruiting.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
No, I got you. Yeah, this is very interesting. So I heard that the Lakers' goal is not to allow Dan Hurley to get back on the plane to go back to Connecticut without hiring him. Now, here's the other thing. This might be a smaller thing to some people. It might be a bigger thing to others. Dan Hurley is an East Coast dude, right? Like you and me, we East Coast cats. We've been on the East Coast pretty much our entire lives outside of the military, right? And so just like, if you're a West Coast cat, like that means something to you. That's your culture. That's where you've been. Like Dan Hurley he grew up in New Jersey. His dad was a legendary coach at St. Patrick's. I think they're closed now. But Is it Dan Hurley Sr.? Well, I can't remember his name, but his dad was a legendary coach. Obviously, his brother's Bobby Hurley, who national champion at Duke, went on, played a couple years in the league, had a brutal car accident, had to stop playing. I think he's coaching at Arizona or Arizona State now. I think Arizona. And so coaching family, coaching's in the blood, but he's been on the East Coast his entire life. He's been in New Jersey, and he's been, Rhode Island, and now he's in Connecticut. He's been right in that Northeast corridor his entire life. It would be a major upheaval, and now the right amount of money can make anybody willing to undertake upheaval, right? But it'd be a major upheaval, personally and culturally, to move to Los Angeles and deal with that. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying that's something to consider. And, for some people, because it's not like he don't have any money, right? I'm sure he's well compensated by UConn. Money is not everything for some people, and comfort and being where with what and who means a lot. What are you saying, G?
I think he made around about 32 mil with that.
There you go. And as we said, they're preparing a new offer to try to keep him. So there's that. I don't know, a lot of things. This is interesting. So here's another voice on the topic that I definitely wanted to get in here. And I thought this was also really interesting, right? So Kendrick Perkins was on Get Up with Mike Greenberg and hear what his thoughts. I thought this was brilliant.
This is not a LeBron James hire. This is a Los Angeles Lakers hire and an Anthony Davis hire. Anthony Davis is the guy that's in his prime. Anthony Davis is the one that needed to be connected to Dan Hurley, and Dan Hurley needs to be connected to Anthony Davis as far as putting him in position to be successful. But when you talk about a coach that is qualified, that knows the game of basketball, that was born into the game of basketball, he checks all the boxes. Now, when it comes down to holding guys accountable, especially guys like AD and LeBron, that's going to have to come from Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. And if I'm Dan Hurley, I'm walking in that office, and the first thing that we need to do is get an understanding that I could trust you. I could trust you guys to have my back. I could trust you guys to allow me to be Dan Hurley, a guy that has a resume of getting in guys' asses when need be, and I don't have to look over my shoulder. It's a reason Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the game today. It's because he has the support of Pat Riley, and players can't go behind his back and say, you know what, hey, we're not feeling coach, and then all of a sudden he's without a job. When you look around the league, the teams that are having success, the coaches that are having success, they have the full support and trust of the front office.
Now, wasn't that interesting coming from Kendrick Perkins? Now, here's what I want to know about that, right? And I'm going to digress a little bit from the Dan Hurley thing. But this started out being about Dan Hurley. But what I want to know is this. What in the hell is going on with Kendrick Perkins? What is the deal with Perk, bro? Because over the last few weeks, he's been telling a lot of truth about LeBron. You notice that? Yeah. He hasn't been holding his tongue. And I don't get it. Because a couple of months ago, remember, him and Shannon were on First Take, literally arguing about who's been on LeBron's bandwagon. I'll use the term bandwagon. For longer, right? Remember, they was arguing about how long each of them been on LeBron's bandwagon. And now it seems like all of a sudden he's out here just telling the truth. And it seems like a lot of other people are too. Like, they tired of the BS. And I'm real curious to know what's the deal with that and where it's coming from. What's your thought on that?
It's just just LeBron is late in his career, and it's easy to talk about them not getting anywhere and not doing anything as far as getting swept in playoffs, right? Yeah, swept in playoffs. But
gentleman's sweep. 4 gentlemen's sweep. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I really think is this hiring, if it goes through, I agree with him when he said that this is definitely the stakes holders hiring, right? And they definitely looking past LeBron. I agree with that. That's you bringing in a system late. You bringing in change late in the player's career. You changing coaches late in the player's career. You don't really see that often from the great ones, right? But if you're like a LeBron James, where the coach is just the option, right? That's just 6 man. Really. That we listen to him and we gonna run what we want to run because I'm a
right.
Yeah. And so when you start talking about bringing that type of coach in, Are they looking to draft Bronny? Is that what this is about? Right, you bringing them into a system that you trust. Is that the missing piece?
But so here's the deal, though. If you bring in a coach like that, right, we see that he's an old school tough coach. And Lou, thanks for your comment, man. I appreciate it. You new to the channel? I don't think I've seen you here before. Larry Brown was brought up under Dean Smith, who was coached by Dr. James Naismith. So he's a true old school blue blood coach. Absolutely. And I think that's what we love about Larry Brown in terms of really doing it the right way. And we saw him able to win with that. So that's a great point. But yeah, so here's my question, though. Let's say you're Dan Hurley and you get this job. If you're the Lakers, do you then draft Bronny? Why would you do that? Because Dan Hurley is a tough coach. And now you putting it in a situation. What if Bronny's in practice or in the game messing up and Dan Hurley got to really go at him? LeBron ain't going to tolerate that. And now that causes more friction in the locker room or more friction between the coach and the front office. Then what happens? Like, if you hire Dan Hurley, you can't draft Bronny. Can you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But LeBron is not going to let you coach him hard, though.
I don't think so. I think if they do bring Bronny in, you definitely gotta let the coach, and it's not like it's a JJ Redick coach, right? Because if he really wanted JJ to coach his son, then he would like advertise and cheerlead for him, right? He would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring you on my podcast because I want you to coach my son next here, right? if all the rumors are true, right? But then you go and bring in a Hurley, and this is speculation, right? Of course, you bring in a Dan Hurley, a player with years and years of experience in developing players, a national champion. You don't interfere with stuff like that. You let it happen because clearly, if your son was who they say he's supposed to be, you wouldn't have to, extend your hand to get him drafted.
Well, we're not even gonna go into that.
It's too much. It's too much. Yeah, that's looking down the future. But
we're even gonna do that. But yeah, that's interesting, man. All right, so what we're gonna do at this point, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna leave that topic right there. But I'm gonna open up the phone lines because I would love to hear anybody watching, whether you're on Instagram or whether you're on YouTube. The number is 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. It's on the bottom of your screen. Go ahead, give us a call. Give us your thoughts on Dan Hurley. Do you think that he would make a good coach with the Lakers? How do you think that works with LeBron and AD? How do you think that works with the last part of the topics we just talked about? The possibility of drafting Bronny James. What do you think about JJ Redick? Like, why did all of a sudden that dry up in terms of looking for the Lakers' next head coach? Give us a call. Definitely want to hear from you. 904-219-8264. Give us a call. Give us your thoughts.
So in the chat, Nino says that Braun is resigning with the Lakers, and Lou agreed. He said he doesn't want to play for Hurley.
LeBron doesn't have the pull he used to dictate terms to all these teams. He's finding that out a bit now. Yeah, that's possible. But if he didn't want to play for Hurley, why would he? Well, I guess that doesn't mean he wants to play for him. But remember when Hurley was on JJ Redick's podcast and LeBron tweeted, "Oh wow, I love this," or whatever, when they were talking about play design, and Danny Hurley was talking about a play that he got from a team in FIBA in Turkey, and how they took the play and then they built some different actions off of it and actions on the backside to be able to react to it. And him and JJ were talking strategy, and LeBron was like, "Oh, I love this. This is so great." He tweeted that out. So why would you want to do that? That's, LeBron knows that his words are very powerful. That's almost like a vote of confidence. So I don't know. I don't think LeBron wants to play for any tough coach. I don't think he ever has, but I don't know.
Yes.
Again, I think Bronny becomes the X factor in all of this now, because he's not going to want to sit there and see his son getting yelled at, even if he's messing up. I can't imagine.
he's probably harder on his son than anybody could be. I don't know.
I don't know,
man. I don't want to get ahead of it, but
right.
Yeah, it's just too early right now to say.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm actually glad that the actual team is not allowing the player to dictate who they coach, right? The stakeholders.
Yeah.
Because
No, I agree.
It doesn't work out. They don't listen.
Yep.
I'm sure. Yep.
You take this.
Yeah.
Nino, what's good, brother?
Man, I had to call back in. I had to worry y'all again.
No, it's all good, man. What you got?
I want to know, well, half of them said that LeBron James liked being coach. Now, with that being said, I believe he likes to be coached and challenged if you know what you're talking about, which is Ty Lue. Ty Lue and Bron bumped heads, folks, and Bron vouched for Ty Lue. He bumped heads with Spoelstra, and he vouched for Spoelstra, Eric Spoelstra, but
So let me interrupt you real quick. Remember, he tried to get Spo fired in that first year. Remember that?
I remember. Now
Yeah.
I can't go against it, but that was the first. That was before he even coached him. He wanted Pat Riley. This was said. I don't know.
Right.
They said they wanted Pat Riley to come down and coach like he did when Wade won the championship.
Right, but remember,
So,
D Wade told him, "You don't want the Godfather to come down here." D Wade tried to tell him like that ain't the one you want because that's a different thing than you ever have dealt with. So
yeah, but Bron might, but we can't say he doesn't want that when he asked for it. He never had that. Mike Brown said on many occasions when Bron got there, they rolled the ball out, told him to play baseball. Now, that's why I believe most of your point be true on the coaching, because they never, like Mike, Phil got a hold of Mike when he was young.
Okay.
Kobe, same thing, younger. Like Anthony Edwards, he getting coached young.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, I don't know, maybe you can tell me a player that has been that good where they just rolled the basketball out, said, you run offense at a young age. We're going to run everything to you, and y'all be successful at a young age like Bron. Maybe you know one. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's tough. Probably the closest I could think is maybe Magic, but I hear your point, and that's fair.
Now, when he got the Spoelstra was a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Bron, everybody said Bron loves Spoelstra. When we found out he was a good coach, but they did say he bumped heads with Pat Riley, because Pat Riley said your homies, your whole team ain't gonna be on the bus in the plane, and so we ain't gonna have that super.
Right.
So now that was the fact. But as far as coaching and David Black, you find out. You remember David Black?
Yeah.
That one game where David Black didn't call that timeout, and Ty Lue he didn't know he's supposed to call timeout, and Ty Lue called timeout.
Mm-hmm. So the knock I got with the whole David Blatt situation, and obviously things are different in FIBA, the rules are a little different, and that could be part of it. But David Blatt won, I think, multiple championships coaching in Israel in FIBA. So he's a really good X's and O's guy. That's how he got the job, right? But he came over, and remember, LeBron went to the finals with David Blatt. David Blatt was the all-star coach the following year, and he didn't even make it out of the season. He got David Blatt fired. So it's like, I personally, based on what we've seen, obviously, I haven't been in any of the rooms. I don't know for sure. But based on what we have seen all these years, is too much coincidence to say coach after coach is getting fired on this dude's watch and he has nothing to do with it. And every time he's got a coach that wants to coach tough, he doesn't want to deal with that. That's why when people say, oh, he never had a coach like Popovich, or he never had a coach like Riles or whatever. Nah, he couldn't deal with that. I don't think he could. I really don't. But you make a great point in saying that maybe if one of these guys got to him early and young in his career, it's different. So.
Right. But I don't. I listen. I believe. I mean, it could go either way, because I say David Blatt never coached in the NBA. Like, he's not a present coach. The only coach I feel like, I think we had this discussion before, is Frank Vogel, because they gave him Westbrook, which is Bron, AD, and the GM. I mean, I don't know what happened to Westbrook. I don't know who could coach that team with Bron and AD and Westbrook, not a real good shooting team. So I felt bad for Frank Vogel.
To me, that was a pretty simple situation, though, right? Remember, LeBron was the one who wanted Westbrook. Why? Westbrook is another top 75 player. So LeBron's like, oh, let me get another one of these guys, another Hall of Fame, another top 75 guy to grease the skids, stack the team up, try to win the easy way again, right? But for a guy who's supposed to be such a basketball genius, I don't understand how he thought that a ball dominant dude like Westbrook was going to be able to coexist with a ball dominant dude like himself. LeBron needs guys who can play off the ball and who are shooters, knockdown shooters. Westbrook has never been that. And then when it didn't work out, they made Westbrook the scapegoat, and you know the rest. So I really don't even understand for the life of me why LeBron wanted Westbrook in the first place. That was just stupid.
It don't make sense. I don't understand. I don't get now that one in that situation. The Frank Vogel, the only thing I really hold against. I believe in my heart that Darvin Ham firing comes from AD and Austin Reeves. Did you see what Austin Reeves said? Do you remember he had Austin Reeves and Richard Moore on the bench for half the season? I believe it comes from them guys. LeBron had one of his best seasons at the 08 under Darvin Ham.
They said that, and that was the thing. I was like, the first year they went to the Western Conference Finals. Second year they win the first ever in season tournament cup or whatever the hell they call it, and then they get beat in the first round by the defending champions. So like, there's no shame there. So it's like, all of a sudden, did Darvin Ham forget how to coach and they just decided he got to go? Like, I never got that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's just BS. But again, when you got this guy and he's the coach, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I give 50-50. Like Mike Brown, he's good. I like Mike Brown.
Yeah, he's a very good coach.
He had COVID out, but he's not. I don't know if he had the championship team. I like Mike Brown and Frank Vogel, but the rest of them, I don't know about the rest of them. Besides Foster and Tyler Lue,
What else you got for me, bro?
Oh, that's all I got.
All right, appreciate you, Nino. Thanks for the call, brother.
Okay.
All right. All right, G. Let's go ahead and take it to the final topic of the night, man. Good show so far. Good show.
Oh, yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
So you know me, G. You know me damn near 20 years now. And if it's not your first time watching this show, you all know there's no way that I'm not having an NFL topic. Why? NFL is king. We got to talk NFL, and it's coming back. And yeah. So I miss football, man. I miss football a lot, college and pro. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. So this is an interesting thing, right? So as you can see there on the thumbnail, running backs getting money. So I'm 45. So that means, again, my formative years watching and getting into sports was, late 80s and forward, right? So in the 80s, 90s, and even in the early 2000s, like, glamour position in the NFL was what? Running back, right? But the league has changed so much. All the rules have changed. It's a passing league now. Running back used to be the main position, but now the big positions are what? Quarterback, wide receiver, and offensive lineman, right? Like left tackle. Those are the big positions. And I'm not mad at that, but running back is still important, right? Because when you win, stop me if you heard this before, if you watch this show, there's two easy ways to do it. Run the ball, stop the run. Run the ball, stop the run. Am I right, G?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Some of the best teams of all time have been able to do what? Run the ball and stop the run. Now, does that mean that having that quarterback is not super important? Of course not. It is. Hold on. Let's go ahead and take this call. What's going on, Antoine?
And I was listening to you and Nino's dialogue, and it was interesting to say the least. But the thing is, when you critique LeBron, it won't cause you a hater because they don't have the substance, or the data to really execute a proper argument.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so when it comes to LeBron, is he an all-time great? Yeah, I won't disagree with that. But to me, he's a fringe top 10.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even in my top 10.
Same.
And here's why. every aspect of his accomplishments are narrative driven.
Yep.
If he doesn't, every season that if you looked at how they talk about LeBron, if he does this, oh, he's all time great. But if he doesn't do this, then the team failed him or the coach failed him or something like that. He's never really held to the fire about what he actually done in an intangible manner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the debate, like the GOAT debate, to me is nonsensical at best, because he's still pursuing his career. Like, you think about Russell and MJ and Kobe, their careers are over.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about LeBron, you want to go with stats. Let's take the stats out. What did he accomplish? You can say with Jordan, well, he had 10 scoring titles.
Mm-hmm.
He had this many MVPs. He has defensive player of the year, the steals leader, block leader. He got tangible things that you can put on his resume that lets you know that he was the most dominant player in his era. You can't do that with LeBron.
So
LeBron has virtually.
So let me interrupt you. In fairness to LeBron, and I'm not a LeBron guy, everybody knows that. But in fairness to LeBron, he has one scoring title, he has one assist title, he's got 4 MVPs. I mean, those are, I would say, those are tangible things. So he's shown he can score. Obviously, we know that he's an all-time leading scorer. He's shown he can pass. He can be the most valuable player on the team. He's 5-time all defensive first teams, although I think those are trumped up, but that's a different story. But he's 5-time all defensive first team. He's got a lot of accolades. He just don't have the accolades Michael Jordan has.
But you think it's my point, with each of his accomplishments, and even in those eras, there's always some type of qualifier as to how he accomplished it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not empirical data. And that's my point against LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Is he all-time great? If you are an objective basketball, if you're objectively interested in basketball, for a fact that he's an all-time great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the context for how he accomplished everything that he did, there's always a qualifier that if this person didn't do this or if this situation didn't happen, there's always a caveat to what he accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, his stuff is narrative driven, and a lot of the things he done is fraudulent.
Right.
And so when you put the details and the context about what he accomplished, people call you a hater, which is not even a proper debate to an actual subject that has substance behind it. It's like, let's just talk cogently about the details of what he's done. It's always, well, for example, let's talk about the steroids thing. People don't want to touch that because if you look into it deeply, he never challenged that. No one in his camp has refuted that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that not talked about more? And
because if he refutes it, people are going to dig into it more. I think that's what it is. But the reason I don't touch it, I keep it very simple as a journalist. He's never failed the test, and there's no real evidence against him. Certain things look funny, but that's all you can say. Certain things look funny. There's no real evidence.
Okay, to that point. Okay, let's deviate from LeBron. Let's talk about Barry Bonds. He has never failed the test either. No matter what he looked like physically, or whatever reports or whatever. Barry Bonds has not failed the test, but to this day, everyone believes that he took steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And if you looked at before Miami, after Miami, LeBron was different. He played different, and he had a stacked team from Miami onward.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you give proper credit to what he accomplished when his team was stacked? Is very, things that you can see as far as his body type and all these different things. As far as steroids, the steroid allegations with LeBron happened in Miami, not before.
Right.
So what credit did you really give him for what he actually accomplished without any help assistance from an all-time great or with medicine? Though, again, you can make the same argument. Barry Bonds, who was considered one of the greatest in baseball history, never failed the test. Neither has LeBron, but the one thing they have in common is the stats and what the changes they had physically from the allegation that they both took steroids.
I got you, bro. I got you. I'm gonna have to cut you off on this. I want to go ahead and finish this last topic on the running backs getting money, man. But thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. And
no problem.
you're welcome here anytime, brother.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, fam. All right, G, where were we? We were
just getting started.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, man. So running back used to be the glamour position in the NFL. We know that. And running back was special, man. You look at, your Barry Sanders, your Earl Campbells, your Walter Paytons, your of course going back, your Jim Browns, your Gale Sayers, your Bo Jacksons, and so on and so forth, right? The dream was always Thurman Thomas to get that elite running back, right? And so we've seen as the game has shifted, and now you're able to get quality running backs who can give you quality production later and later in the draft. A lot of teams aren't wanting to pay the running back position the way they used to. Not the way they used to in terms of total dollars, but relatively in terms of running backs being a highly paid position. And if you remember, G, last year or last offseason, that was a whole big uproar, right, about running backs not getting paid. And the running backs did a conference call and trying to figure out how they were going to deal with all of that. And so, I mean, I'm a running backs guy. Like, you look at these guys; these are some of my top 5 running backs. You got Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, right? He's a beast. He's gotten a lot stronger over the years between the tackles. By the way, man, he's Saquon Barkley, when he's healthy, easily one of the best running backs in the league. There you go. Watch him just take off against the Washington football team there. Wow, I don't know if that was a throwback or what. They had Redskins on the field. Of course, you got our guy, Derrick Henry, King Henry, right? Absolute beast. And I tell you, you ever seen his high school highlights, bro? He went to high school down here in North Florida called Yulee High School. Watch his high school highlights on YouTube. It's like a man running against little kids. Here's my favorite running back in the league right now, Jonathan Taylor. I've been a fan of his since Wisconsin. Absolute monster. Josh Jacobs, another beast. I mean, there are some really outstanding running backs in the league, I left out Nick Chubb because he's coming off that monster ACL injury that he had last year. But being an AFC North guy, all about Nick Chubb, right?
Yeah.
That guy is tough. He's one of the best in the league when he's healthy. And so the whole thing was about running backs not being paid and all of that. But it kind of seems like that whole thing has shifted, and I think it's interesting. I'm not sure why, and I want to get your take on that. Because all of those guys I just showed you there, they either got new deals going into last season or this season. So what I wanted to know was your take. Do you think something has changed? Do you think maybe there's a bit of change in ownership mindset? Why are the top running backs seemingly getting compensated a little better? And we'll go into the money in a little bit.
I think because you look at CMC, right? He's in almost 90% of the snaps. Well, 70% of the snaps, right? So he's a threat on the field, on the floor. And I think teams know that after we picked up Derrick Henry, the teams will poach your best players if you don't treat them right. And so you're starting to see everyone getting paid because the free agency will open up and you'll lose your running back. And without a running back, it'll be hard to win. You can't control that clock without a back. I mean, you can, but it's a little harder. And once you control that clock, you shrink the field or you shrink the game. And so
that's a great point. Yeah,
you definitely need to have that. You mentioned Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's really young, by the way. All of them are making. Yeah, all of them are making an upward of $14 million a year in their current or new contracts, and so which is crazy. The fact that we got Derrick Henry for $8 million is $8 million 2 years is crazy. So, but you strike when the iron's hot, right? They didn't want to pay him. Tennessee didn't want to pay him, and we just capitalized on it. So
yeah, absolutely,
definitely a big piece on the chessboard.
Absolutely, yeah, and the real football coaches know that you win inside out. Of course, you got to have a quarterback, but you win from the trenches, right? Offensive line, defensive line, run the football, and then if you have a quarterback that can not turn it over or make the plays when you need them, that's the perfect formula, right? So let me ask you this before we start actually looking at the money. Who's your top running backs in the league? Let's say everybody's healthy. Your top 5.
Top 5 running back. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's healthy, so we're starting from a place of no injuries.
I'm a little biased, so I'm gonna start with Derrick Henry.
Right. I got you.
I'm gonna throw Christian McCaffrey in there. He's an animal. Saquon Barkley is definitely another one.
Okay.
And Quad is kept. Like I said, I'm keeping it all Ravens. But if J.K. wasn't hurt, I like the way he run. He's a hard runner. So
you would put him in your top 5 running backs in the league, though, if he's healthy.
If he's healthy, right? Like if he's healthy, like we saw what he could do if he's healthy. You thinking about stats? He's an animal. Like he runs. Probably half of the reason
I
why
remember
he hurt
him since
because
Ohio
he's
State.
reckless.
Yeah, he's a beast. Yeah.
So I mean, Alvin Kamara is definitely one in there. He's a unicorn. Get things happening, but it's 2 types of players though, right? Like you got what they used to call thunder and lightning. So you got the smash mouth, the north-south running back, and then you got your shifty backs.
Yeah,
and so that changes the dynamics of things too. When I look at J.K., that's what I see. He has the ability to be shifty, but he also have a mean forearm. That stiff arm is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the players with that on offense they stiff arm and they put their helmet down and follow through. But I think another reason why we seeing a lot of players get paid is because of the rule change. Also, in order to tackle a strong back, you got to jump. You pretty much got to jump on their back and swing around and do all that. You can't.
You can't even hip drop no more. So that's
hip drop no more. So
we're gonna see.
It's pretty much the advantage of the back once you get in front of you. So
that's a great point. So if I had to give my top 5, all healthy, and no particular order, Derrick Henry, obviously King Henry, Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, because I love the way he's an all-purpose back. To your point, he's on the field majority of the snaps. He's going to catch it out of the backfield. You can line him up wide in a wide receiver position. Obviously, his dad was Ed McCaffrey, so he knows how to run routes and all that. And of course, like I mentioned earlier in the clip, he's gotten a lot stronger running between the tackles. Jonathan Taylor, that's my guy. I've been a huge fan of his, just watching him since Wisconsin. He is an absolute beast. He's not that big, but he is strong and explosive in speed. So he gets to open field. He could take off on you. He could turn on the jets, but he's very strong between the tackles. So big fan of his. Nick Chubb, I think, is such an animal in terms of what he is able to do after contact. He's very, very difficult to bring down. Unfortunately, playing in division with Cleveland, got to deal with him. And Josh Jacobs, I think, is that other guy. He can catch it out of the backfield. He's strong and he's fast. Much as I hate to have 2 Alabama running backs on my top 5. Got to deal with that. But yeah, I think those are my top 5. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and Josh Jacobs, if they're all healthy. And that's not to say that the other guys aren't outstanding. Alvin Kamara, you mentioned, Saquon Barkley, who's in Philly now. That's going to be a problem. I just think, those are my 5. So that's what I thought. So I'm really curious to know if the owners, knowing that the running backs made that conference call last year, if that had any effect whatsoever on the fact that they're willing to pay some of these higher end running backs. I don't know. Let's look at the recent deals that these guys got. So Christian McCaffrey, he's got 2 years, $38 million extension. So that makes him the highest paid running back, $19 million a year. That's very nice. $14 million signing bonus. Saquon Barkley, 3 years, almost $38 million with the Eagles. So that's almost $13 million a year. Again, $11.5 million signing bonus. Josh Jacobs, gone from the Raiders, going to the Packers, 4 years, $48 million. That's 12 a year. These guys, they're being compensated nicely. Jonathan Taylor, 3 years, $42 million. They're doing all right. The high-end running backs are doing okay. So it's, we were going through, and of course, King Henry, 2-year extension for $16 million, which still is pretty good considering all the mileage on him and all the hits he's taken over the years, he's still extremely productive. And I think the Ravens probably had the best offer for him, and also the best opportunity for him to win a championship. So this is going to be really good for him. It's going to be good for Lamar Jackson. It's a good fit, and he's fairly well compensated for the point that he's at in his career right now. So that's good. But yeah, I think there was coming a time where kind of the mindset was, if you're a great football player coming up, don't be a running back anymore. But now I guess if you're really that guy, now you're seeing you can get paid again as a running back. And to your point, you got even more rules changes. So it's going to be very interesting to see if you're not going to see more high-end players going back to being running backs again, now knowing that the possibility is there to get compensated well if you're good. So I don't know. I like it. I think we can't argue anymore that running backs aren't being paid fairly, though.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up the phone lines for the last time. Phone number is 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. If you want to give us a call, give us your thoughts on the running back position in the NFL, who your top 5 running backs are when healthy, your thoughts on how they should be compensated, if they're being compensated fairly. Let's go ahead and give us a call on that. And if not, that'll be the end of the show. And if you're just getting in, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Instagram, I appreciate you. If you're on Instagram, please go ahead, go on over to the YouTube page. Link is in the bio. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's not that serious. Christian McCaffrey's a hybrid running back. If you're in that position, you'll get paid more. And that's why he's the highest paid at his position in the league, right? But like I was showing, you're seeing some of the other, true running backs between the tackles guys, but guys who can also break it when they get a crease. Those guys are getting compensated nicely as well. So my only hope is that all those guys stay healthy and they continue to do their work, so they can maybe get they can squeeze one more check out of it. And also so we can see that the running backs coming up have the opportunity to get paid if they're outstanding players at, commensurate with their work and their talent. G, you had anything you wanted to add on the running backs before we get up out of here?
Oh no, just that it's good to see them getting money, and we might even see multiple 2,000-yard players this year.
How crazy would that be?
Yeah, it would be crazy. But
yeah.
As long as Derrick Henry runs over Patrick Queen, it's money well spent. Money well spent.
Quick side note before we go, man. Isn't that crazy though to see, a Pro Bowler from the Ravens go to the Steelers? Like, that's wild to me.
Yes.
That's right there with Rajon Rondo going to the Lakers and winning a championship. Like, that was, I was like, yo, this don't even look right.
Yeah, Raquan came in and took his bag. Pretty much that's what happened. But as far as the running backs is concerned, though, like normally the way we measure like running backs is by the that linebacker, right? That linebacker to running back competition, right? Like you'll see like Ray Lewis versus the bus, right? We haven't had a lot of those types of maybe we have, but I haven't heard a lot of the whole linebacker versus running back kind of thing.
I think they probably don't market that the way they used to, because that's a violent collision, right? Yeah. And you notice, like, remember they had this segment, this is some years ago now, probably like 10 years ago. And the segment was Jacked Up. I think they used to play it on, like, what is that? Like the ESPN Monday night preview show or the Sunday preview show. And they would show all the big hits and they'd be like, he got jacked up. And then when the CTE stuff came out and they started changing the rules from the big hits, that's when they revamped the segment and did like You Got Mossed and a couple other ones, right? But I think that's the reason you don't see or hear as much about the running back versus linebacker matchups that we used to see, that we used to so look forward to, because those generally end in the violent collisions, and the violent collisions are not what the modern NFL wants to market, even though, you know, as fans of football, we all love the big hits still, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. That's definitely spot on. Yeah, but they need to bring it back, man. That was, you know, now they do some of it, but I can see them. You know, they pretty much put a heavy emphasis on the corners and the wide receivers versus the
Absolutely.
linebackers. And
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, think about it though. I mean, those are great matchups too. Like, we don't want to see a Sauce Gardner versus a Justin Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
yeah, Patrick Surtain versus you know, Stephon Diggs or Brandon Ayuk. You know, those are great matchups too.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are more about technique than physicality, but you know, yeah. But all right, team. What I'm gonna do now, then, since we're not getting any more calls on this topic, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it for the night. G, thanks so much for joining me, man. Appreciate all your feedback. This is another great show. I think this is the longest one we've done yet, but we got some really good topics in. We got some good discussion. We got some good calls. So appreciate all of y'all who tapped in and called the show. Appreciate all y'all who tapped in to watch and listen. Appreciate everybody on Instagram. Appreciate everybody here on YouTube. So go ahead, share the show. Make sure you like and subscribe. I keep saying it. Really helps us out a whole lot. And we'll be back next week doing this again. And I might do another live during the week. I think I may be getting into the habit of doing 2 lives a week. So yeah, but I'll be back with the next episode. And I'm out. Peace.